What stage of the product launch are you in? You're not only going to find out what stage you're in, but how to get to the next stage and ultimately achieve that low TACOS and high profitability that you want. So let's jump into it. Now, every single brand is in one of these 5 stages. So you're either going to be at the starting stages where you are getting things going, or you're closer to maturity, which we do get some brands that are in the mature stage, but typically at the starting and early stages of a product life cycle, we're typically working with you at that point. And of course, the aim is obviously to get to the maturity stage, but there's a lot of things that you need to do to get there. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're posting tons of Amazon PPC and FBA content like this, so don't forget to subscribe and stay up to date with everything Amazon PPC and FBA. Now at the starting stage, you're typically focusing on getting those initial reviews, you've got your listing copy up, and your initial PPC campaigns. At the start, the last thing you want to be doing is having the expectation you're going to be profitable overnight, because that's absolutely not the case. Unless you've hit the sort of lottery, then you're typically going to be starting with a high TACOS, or you're going to be running a high ACOS campaign. So at that starting point, it's really about getting social proof and reviews. So getting those initial Vine reviews, getting some form of sales from those PPC campaigns, and just getting the wheel moving forward. Until you get those Vine reviews, PPC conversion rate is going to be bad, so don't expect miracles there unless you've picked a really good product. But once you get those reviews in, it should start to get a bit better, as long as, of course, the reviews are good. So do keep that in mind. Now, we typically get people that contact us in the early and intermediate stage because they've done the product launch themselves, maybe haven't got the right traction they expected, and they're looking at how to get to the maturity stage, which is where everyone wants to get. But to actually get there, you need to follow all of these steps really and go through the process to get to maturity. So typically in the early stage, we're looking at A/B testing content, title, bullet points, main image, gallery images, A+ content. We're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, figuring out what you can say, maybe what your competitors are doing that you aren't. Maybe there's a pricing thing that you could do in terms of coupons or anything like that. We're looking at all these sort of things to actually check that your product is the best offer out there. Now, same goes for PPC. We want to check that your actual keywords are relevant. Of course, we've done the initial keyword research, made sure that that's relevant, but maybe the customer determines that you're not relevant for whatever reason, and you need to add negatives on certain terms. So you want to be optimizing your campaigns at that point and checking that your terms are completely accurate about the product. When you're going through this stage, what you're looking for is slight improvements in conversion rate and click-through rate. These determine that things are actually starting to work, and if you do find that it's starting to work, you can then start running more ads and potentially driving up those sales and reviews. Because at the early stage, you're still trying to get past that next barrier of reviews, which could be 50, 100, depending on your niche. Every product has its own kind of threshold with reviews that make it more established of a player. So you want to keep pushing the reviews and keep making sure that you're driving as much traffic as you can. Now, going into intermediate, you're going to want to start testing different ad types. Maybe sponsored brand video, sponsored display, maybe more product targeting, things like that. Typically at the start, product targeting isn't going to work as well because you're competing against products with more reviews. But if you're at that point where you have more reviews, you will be in a position to actually start targeting them properly. So there's a lot more opportunity that starts to open up at that intermediate stage. Some people in this stage have poor content but lots of reviews. So it's just about getting that content to be right. So, you could be in the intermediate stage with a lot of reviews, poor content, or the other way around. And at that point, you need to figure out what's actually the problem and focus on driving traffic. There's going to be a moment in time when you actually notice your TACOS start to go down and your sales start to go up. That's when you get into the getting established side, but perhaps you're not doing everything that you should be. Maybe you're not running that sponsored brand video campaign to top a search, or you're maybe not doing the best content that you can. You're running the experiments tab in Seller Central, you're doing different things there, but your sales are still able to decrease. You haven't got that market share completely. So at that stage, you still have more things to do. Potentially you're looking at new keywords that you can rank for. So you're focusing on the ranking side. And because you're more established, ranking is going to be a lot easier than it is in the first 2 or 3 steps. So at that point, you're increasing your market share, you're getting your visibility up, and you're getting your product to a more profitable position. And then, of course, maturity stage is when you're at a point where your product is doing most of the work for you, you're running minimal ads, your product sales are at a plateau, and your profitability is at the best it can be. At this point, you want to be looking at expanding the brand, getting complementary products to go with this, maybe adding a variation to this, so it's maybe a 2-pack or something like this. That's kind of the point where you will have additional cash flow to look at expanding to the next step. We hope you found that helpful, and hopefully it gives you a better idea of where your brand is at the moment. If you are struggling to get from one of the earlier stages to maturity, or even one of the higher stages, and you just can't get to maturity, you're struggling to rank for specific keywords and build that market share, you can contact us below, KickstartPPC.com. We'll schedule a call with you, figure out where you're at the moment, and also help you get through the stages, test different content, and see what works best for you. I'm Brand for KickstartPPC, and we'll see you in the next video.